Good evening, Gail.
Hey Jim, how are you?
Oh, pretty good.
Good.
It's impressive how aggressive National Grid is when it comes to protecting their three-phase power lines. I've never seen so much activity. They were taking some trees down on my land along Locks Pond Road and across the street, and some trees that seemed almost impossible for me to cause them any problems, but they were taking them down anyway. So
I saw that. I was like, wow, those trees look very sturdy.
and they were, or past tense, of course, they're
Yeah.
gone now. So, but I went down and talked to the guys who were doing it because my neighbor loves those chips that are generated by the
Oh, yeah, yeah.
chippers, and so among other things, and uh, and they're making their way down Locks Pond Road, and there are a whole lot of them in front of. I noticed the Anderson camp over there on Wendell Road. They have
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of trees. If they have a big red X on them, they're going to be cut down shortly. But
Yeah, yeah, the crews have been there all week.
yeah.
So what do they do with it? Do they just like dispose of the chips?
Well, a lot of people want them, and uh, so when various folks along Locks Pond Road, for example, and I assume elsewhere, signed a paper saying, sure, take those so-called problem trees down. If they asked for chips, and so some of them did at that time, then they dutifully made a note of it, and
Oh, hmm.
um, because I asked them about that, and they had in fact they had in fact done so for my neighbors who use many chips for all sorts of things. I don't use them, but I did want the cordwood, which I use for firewood, and I asked them just not to cut it up into little pieces, but just one long length, which is the way I usually process cordwood. And so, but that they were very obliging. So,
That's nice.
uh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
wonder I wonder if they work in non-rural areas. They they have trouble getting rid of the wood, but here everybody wants it.
Yeah, I don't think that. Apparently, there are a few other people who wanted chips as well, and maybe even some of the wood that they're going to leave behind. Because some of the wood that they were cutting was on town land, so I don't know where that's going to go. Maybe I'll
Mhm.
just snag it and give it to my neighbors who could use it. So we'll see.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Good development in terms of protecting our fiber lines. Do you have, I was going to ask you, do you have any pictures you want to incorporate into the annual report?
Oh,
Last year there were some, there was one, as I recall.
yeah, there's none that I can think of that
There
we
isn't,
took this year. No, like projects or anything that were
yeah, yeah,
important, and I don't even think we ever got together in person as a group.
that's right. I don't think so either. Well, no matter, I know that you would like me to write that report, which I did last year. So, I'm sort of gearing up for that. I'll write it in the next couple of weeks, but, um, um, there isn't a whole lot to report this year, um, that I can think of, so I'll have to make something up. I get to make it somewhat
Yeah,
interesting to read.
well, like as usual, just as a summary of our activities
Yeah.
is just fine. Hey, Craig,
How are you?
doing great. How are you doing?
Sorry. Sorry, I've been absent for a couple meetings. I'm good to see you guys all again.
That's all right. Are you done with the semester yet, or still a couple more days here?
I'm done because I had very little teaching this semester, but I've been going crazy with a spin out company, so
A spin out company. That's so exciting.
it
What do
is.
you can you share what you're making or what it is about?
Sure, it's about making RNA, which is what my career has been.
Yeah.
But now we're spinning out a company to do it. It's incredibly exciting.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It looks like we've got half of our funding set up already, and I think it's pretty optimistic for the rest. So yeah, who knew? Not me. I didn't think I'd be doing this in my later days.
Getting close to retirement, it's a great time to start a company.
I guess so. But anyway, I've been on Zoom a lot, so
Yeah, I bet.
this is just one more.
I bet. And are you manufacturing, are you gonna start like an actual local company, or is it kind of all over the country?
Well, we're setting up our initial um, facility in Worcester in some incubator space, but the hope is to go, international at some point. That's down the road.
Wow. Excellent. Well, that is
Yeah,
that is very exciting.
it is. And I missed the last meeting for more academic reasons. I was in Finland, which was
Finland?
fun also. Yeah.
Cool.
I was on a PhD defense in Finland. A bit of a boondoggle, but it was fun.
Wow.
A Finnish student?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, the University of Turku.
Hmm.
I got the pronunciation right finally.
Did you see the Aurora Borealis?
Not then because we barely saw the sun. It was overcast the whole time.
Mm.
But we did see it in October, so when
Good.
some of you I think saw it. So yeah, apparently November is a terrible time to go try to see it up there.
All right, now I see everyone. Welcome.
Hey, all.
Well, I'll kick us off. Everyone's here. So welcome to the December 18th meeting of the MLP Board and Broadband Committee. I'm Gail Huntress, MLP Manager, facilitating the meeting. This meeting is fully remote. Participating remotely, we have MLP board members Jim Hemingway, Graham Sefton, Steve Schmidt, and committee member Craig Martin. First order of business is to approve the minutes from November 20th. Can I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Second.
Excellent. Vote to approve it, Jim?
Approve, yeah, aye, yes.
Aye. Steve?
Aye.
Aye.
And Graham.
Aye.
Great. And Craig will abstain you since you weren't here.
I don't
Um,
vote anyway.
Yeah. We do it as a courtesy, though. It's
That's
nice.
fine. I would if I could.
Well, it's also the committee minutes, or I think are
Yeah.
incorporated into the MLP minutes, so.
Yeah, so pretty much, Craig, you're a
That's true.
unanimous member.
All right. Anyway, I abstain regardless.
All right, let's see. First item, anything to report on the hut, Graham?
Nothing remarkable about the hut whatsoever.
That's what we'd like to hear.
I did change the regime for colder weather. That's all for the HVAC. Oh.
Great. Maintenance and service, November was another slow month, only 24 tickets total. And Graham said, there's only 9 like actionable things on there. Most of it was like billing.
Yeah, there were
Changes
only
and
9
questions.
things that, 9 things I
Yeah.
reckon that actually, were services that, as opposed to, something wrong with my router.
Yep. Great. What else is going on? Oh, I have some good news to report. I don't know if I mentioned to you all that there's this national broadband trailblazer program. And so I applied and Shutesbury won. So, I mean, it's not like won everything, but was recognized. It's not official yet. It won't come out till uh the press releases. They said hold off on until like January 17th. But Jim, that's something that we can put in our annual report. So
Repeat that again.
yeah, so a National Trailblazer Award.
They'll fly us all out to Silicon Valley or something, will they, to give us a prize?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
Okay,
sure.
good.
You should-
We can
you
zoom
should-
in to it.
Yeah.
You should tell the reporter for the Gazette. They like to write up little things like this, and it's good press for us.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's a great idea. I can't do anything till the press kit comes out on the 17th.
No.
Yeah, but
Well,
after
you can tell him this is coming, but it's embargoed, and then he'll be ready for it.
okay.
They understand this, right? If you tell them it's embargoed, they'll respect that.
With a
Okay.
release date.
When did you apply to this, Gail? How long ago?
November.
Right? Right.
Well, I guess you could say October. It was due on November 1st.
So
And when does it,
we're as
Well,
good as we thought we were.
National Trailblazer Report?
Award.
Award, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Thank you. And
The
what does
question
it,
is, did Leverett get it?
That is always a question. I don't think so. It was a pile of annoying paperwork.
Hmm.
And luckily I happen to be good at that. And I don't think anybody else around us bothered. So I think
see.
that's really the answer.
All right.
what does it give us? Hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Oh, yeah. You didn't get your check, Jim?
No, it hasn't arrived yet.
Yeah. Basically,
bra-
it's just bragging rights.
Yeah,
The reason, but the reason I pursued it is because MBI sent out a thing saying, hey towns, you should apply for this. And I kind of read between the lines saying that it would be used as evidence to perhaps make us eligible for further grant funding that's coming through digital equity. So, as far as I know, we don't really get anything with this except some extra clout and gravitas to our operation here. That it's nationally recognized.
Good. Let's hope there's still some money left next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So speaking of other grant things, so I'm still working on the part 2 of that application for the digital equity grant that we've already been pre-approved for. As you can imagine, with any state program, it's another load of paperwork and and budgets and things that you need to submit. It doesn't have to be in technically until May, but I'm gonna try to get it in no later than the end of January so that we can get our money and do things with it in a something that only either the state of Massachusetts or the federal government could come up with. One of the highest priorities of our plan was to connect the unconnected, considering it's digital equity, and one of the most important things is to get people connected. You can't use this money to connect people, actually.
What?
It is pretty amazing.
Uh-huh.
You can't use it on any infrastructure.
What can you use it for?
Well, you can use it on education programs.
Yeah.
We can, as far as I know, we could still use it for the router upgrades.
Oh,
So because that's not technically an infrastructure build out, it's buying equipment.
interesting.
So, and I'm gonna try to word the application in such a way that doesn't, to make sure that our routers aren't classified as an infrastructure build out, that it's an upgrade, instead, which seems to be allowed. But that really is unfortunate, and I'm just like gobsmacked about I can't believe that you can't connect people using the money that is supposed to connect people.
Yeah.
It just make-
So we'll need to talk kind of like after I write up the plan, we'll need to talk about, should we take any action towards getting the unconnected connected? There's 85 addresses I know of that don't have service currently. So that's all the households in Shutesbury that currently don't have a connection. You know what I could do is just send them a letter. You know, it cost about $65, $70, you know, and I'm just saying, like, I'm buying stamps, I'm printing it out on my, you know, my home printer. It's just very basic here. Sending them a letter saying, we notice your house that you own here, based on our tax records, isn't connected. Is this for cost reasons, and would you like help connecting? So, because one of the things that's lacking here is we don't know if the remaining households in town are having a financial issue with a connection, or if they just don't want it.
Right.
We tried with our survey that we sent out this past summer to ask that question, but since it was a, you know, a paper survey, people typically don't reply to those. So we didn't get any responses from that one saying, oh yeah, the reason I'm not connected is I don't want it. So
I mean, it's not surprising that people who are not connected didn't respond to our survey because, you know, like, yeah, you know, I don't have anything to do with them, so talk
yeah.
it out. Um,
It's
Yeah,
also not
we did mail all the unconnected people a physical thing though. And we didn't say like, hey, go online and do this. We assumed that they had no connection. So we did give them a paper one, but you know, people are busy and they don't want to fill out a survey and
or
return it.
they really aren't interested, and that's why they didn't return.
Yeah, man, and you'd be shockingly surprising if 100% of people wanted anything, you know,
Yeah.
no matter what. So, yeah, there'd be some people who don't want. I mean, they'd see it as we're the big hand, the hand of Big Brother or something, reaching out to you know milk them for data. So you know that's okay. Or they've got cell phone service that that's all they want.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, what I'm hearing is should we just let this go? You know, we're hovering around 91%. No one replied to the survey saying there was a specific question saying, you know, are you facing financial hardship? Do you want help getting a connection?
Mm. Yeah, thinking more about the grant, I mean, I can see, okay, I know I know there's one house in town that does not have the physical connection made to it. And I can see how they say, well, okay, you know, this isn't for, you know, rolling out new cable and so forth. A house that, so do these houses, the 85 or whatever number is, do they not have drops? Is that,
That is correct. No drops.
so making the drop is still an infrastructure rollout, I guess. Uh,
Correct.
Hmm.
Correct. It is very specific in the rules of these grants. It cannot pay for drops. It is
mm.
unbelievable, but there it is.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
And I mean, I'm thinking, well, is there any possibility of trying to appeal this? And
I would say no. That I've asked twice. FERCog has been asking MBI. Other towns have been. Everybody's frustrated by this, and everyone's like, "This is nonsense."
yeah,
And you know, I'm sure they have some kind of idea about it. I do wonder a
Or
little,
not.
yeah, or not, or not. You know what? Something that I'm watching in this space is that most of all of the BEAD money is going to large providers. Very little of it is going to municipalities.
I'm
Um,
shocked.
shocked,
Yeah.
shocked and appalled.
Uh,
So, you know, I wonder if there's that's one of the reasons is that because it's mostly private companies getting this money, they're saying like, well, we're not going to pay for everything. Like you got to pay for part of this.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad that taxpayers aren't paying AT&T and Verizon to connect people up, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so the money. I should say one thing though, in that the money can be used to build out distribution networks. So just not drops. So that is one infrastructure place where it can be used.
oh,
we could build out the infrastructure. The we could build out the distribution all the way to the back of their back wall. Yeah, I guess until we hear that there's someone who's hard pressed, it's moot.
Yeah, I mean, it is a moot point in the way that we have no extra money for this. If someone comes
Yeah.
back to us and says, I need, you know, I have financial hardship, I need help, we're gonna have to dig into our own, you know, funds to help that person. We can't use our grant money here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, well, I'm gonna put this down for now, and just go after the rest of the, you know, the digital equity things. Um, the kind of the overview of what the plan is going to look like is getting the town hall equipped with better hybrid meeting technology. Um, so I think that's going to look like just asking around to other towns what they use, and um, uh, you know, getting price estimates for that, paying for the hardware installation at the new library. Um, and the elementary school. For years, the elementary school still does not have a guest network. Just you know, like an open network for people. So I think it would help out our townspeople a lot if we just paid to have that set up. Um,
That would probably just be a completely separate network that doesn't talk to the school network.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm
I
sure.
think the restrictions are bureaucratic that they're really worried about, somebody hacking into a kid's
Yeah.
lunchbox or something.
Yeah. And so some kind of like partition or firewall between their network and this guest network.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
so however that can happen. Um, so let's see what else, and then also doing something for our seniors. So that could look like a digital navigator or just what that just means is in-home tech help. Um, so currently the uh, Digital Alliance is exploring hiring someone to work on a regional basis. And then there's another program called Cyber Seniors, which pairs up younger people, like college age, with adults to help with this. So that's a program that's kind of being coordinated by Greenfield Community College. So I'm looking into both of those. Personally, I'd like to see it be a paid program. Not that I'm going to be organizing volunteers and stuff, but I think that for something like this, for overhead administration and reliability and professionalism, not going through student volunteers and just paying someone who is great with seniors, a full-fledged adult, to, you know, be in Shutesbury once every 2 weeks or something, would be a better use of the money.
Yeah.
Um, All right, so that's kind of the update on the where we are with the digital equity. Any questions on any of that? Okay. Let's see, a little bit over 70,000, well, a little how should I say that? Under $71,000 was approved by our auditor. So that's going to be our retained earnings for fiscal year 2024. So we can start building back our reserves. Our current balance is just over 30.
2025. Well, it's that's what's left over from 24.
Correct. But
They call it FY25 retained earnings. I found out after using the wrong number for a number of years. I'm trying, yeah.
I will name this incorrectly every single time. So 2025, yeah, so we can start building up our reserves again. And our current balance is just over $33,000. So for this point in the year, we're doing really well. And why don't we move and take a look at our budget for next year, and just do a first pass at that. So I'll share my screen.
Just curious, before I forget to ask, the scam alert that you sent out, were many people or any people in Shutesbury impacted by that, whatever that scam was?
Don't know. It came through a neighbor of Steve who contacted Steve and said, Steve, you're on the broadband committee. I got this weird call. And then I started investigating. Looks like it's been making the rounds in South Hadley customers. When I reached out to them and said, just making sure you didn't contact this customer, they said, oh yeah, we know about this one.
Uh-huh.
So only one report of it, but I figured we might as well get ahead of it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, good to know.
Okay, so let me see if I can make this a little bit easier to see everything. All right, so over here on the left, we have our fiscal year 26 draft budget. Over here on the right is what we have now, so you can see the change and the difference. And starting right here at the top for insurance, we don't know the insurance rates until kind of like mid-spring, like April, March of what they're going to be for the coming year. Steve gave me the good idea that perhaps we should bump this up to 15 grand. Insurance rates around the country just continue to increase. They increased last year. So it might be prudent to raise this to 15 grand to account for this. So unless anyone had any objections, I think that's a good idea.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So backhaul. This was a happy little error that I discovered last year, but our budget was already set, where we had a reduction in our backhaul costs after we had left Crocker, but I never adjusted the budget for it. So this is a really nice 20% reduction in one of our biggest areas of expense. So that's going to help out our overall budget in the coming year. And all this is locked in. It's locked in for a decade. So we don't have to anticipate any price increases here.
Great.
So my salary and overhead, I'm guessing on a 3% COLA, but we won't know until later this spring exactly what it is. So that's an estimate. Bond fee, pole rental, Calyx Essential support, supplies, legal, everything is going to be the same here. Electronics, HUD operations, same. We'll keep depreciation the same too. Our debt service is going to drop again slightly as it will every year. We are getting so close to our debt payoff in 2030. This item had a big increase, as you can see, and this is due to the audit expense. I want to be clear, this is not the audit expense that is triggered by the library grant borrowing project. This is because the town never let us know that the amount we have been paying up until this point for audits is too low. So now we know, and so we should adjust accordingly and pay for our portion of the audit every other year. We've already had that discussion with the town of like, we're not going to pay for it every year because that's a library instigated expense, but we will pay our share for the regular audits every other year.
So is the
Right.
5710 prorated, or do we only have this line item every other year?
The 57, this is a combined thing. So that's it's the cost for the auditor, the accountant, and the treasurer. The auditor,
Annually.
yeah, the auditor portion is 2,000 because it's
Okay, got it.
$4,000 every other year.
Got it. Now I see that. Good. Sorry, I should have read
No
more
worries.
carefully.
Let's see, our Lifeline CAF administration remains the same. We always have to kind of overestimate this one because we never know how many people are going to be applying and how many people are going to get it. But it's so far we've never gone over this number, so I think it's a reasonable estimate. Let's see. Oh, so last year, if any of you were at the town meeting, you remember that we had kind of lots of confusion on the town meeting floor because I had included our subscriber support in a budget item, and Gail Weiss stood up and was like, you can't have negative numbers in a budget. So we moved for this budget, moved that down here to the income area. And the way that it's done now is that we just don't get those MLP fees from Sheld, and they give a really nice spreadsheet saying who's getting those benefits. But we don't ever see those MLP fees. They're just never collected. So the easiest way to depict that, I think, is to actually, we'll remove this line for subscriber support and we'll just put in parentheses here, subscriber times subscriber number times monthly fee times 12 minus whatever we're giving for subscriber support.
Sounds good. So it's just income is what we talk about. Yeah.
Right,
And
right.
income we don't get is not going to be on the books because then you have to subtract it somewhere else. Or
Right,
yeah.
right.
Okay. That makes good sense to me.
Yep. And then our other source of income, which is really nice, and again, is going to help our budget, is that we have this annual CAF 2 funding that's going to continue to roll in every year. So that is pretty much all of our budget items. Any questions, concerns, any numbers you see here that are questionable or wrong?
Just mention that, Gail and I talked about that subscriber support line the other day, and currently we have 19 customers that are qualifying for that. So it's reducing our income by about $3,400. So budgeting $5,000, we're being conservative, careful here that we could take on a number more subscribers for that program and still be within our budget. So, but it's also possible we've added a little cushion here, which is fine.
19 people, you said?
Correct.
Okay.
And Jim, you don't need to put it in the minutes because he's thinking about it. But I dropped in on Aaron Saunders's town visit last a few weeks ago, and I mentioned the ridiculousness of the town, what in my opinion of the bonding, the surety bonding fee that we continue to pay to
Oh,
have
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Anyhow, he was. I suggested, is there some way that the state government would just go guarantee on something that is obviously a no cost item for the anyone can go anyone who is a reliable amount of money, deep pockets, can go surety. Any one of us could go surety if we were accepted. But of course we don't want to. But he said he'd look into it because he's got 3 towns that are in the same situation. And so, he wasn't sure. He was going to ask about it. So he liked the idea. So I'll keep you posted.
Yeah. Thanks for making that ask. I think that the utility companies just want to make sure that they're covered in the case of failure, but they don't care where that coverage comes from. So if the state is willing to back it, it's no difference to them whether it's that or an insurance company. It's not like we're paying that bond to the utility companies. They never see that money. It's all going to the insurance companies. So I think the idea might have legs. We'll see.
Cross your fingers. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here's a question. Sorry, back to the budget here. So we've accumulated quite a lot in our depreciation budget. It's up to 254,000 about right now. We don't have a whole lot to use on that money. We explored this last year. There's no equipment in the hut that needs to get upgraded really anytime soon. There's our lines are great. They're good for another 15, 20 years, probably longer. Some fiber optic lines have been up there for 30, 40 years. So we don't have anything that we could use this depreciation money on really except router upgrades. So it's we continue to accumulate money in this account. So combined our depreciation with a portion of our digital equity, we could conceivably upgrade the whole town. I have a email out to the folks at Calix to give me an all-in estimate based on today's pricing. The last pricing we got was over a year ago. Things have changed. So just asking what would it be if we bought 780 routers, estimate, installation costs, and then the setup technology for that. I'm still unclear if we would have to buy our own instance of the Calix cloud support for it. We know that every unit has to come with this monthly charge of about $250, but I don't know if we have to maintain our own separate instance of the cloud support. So I'll find that out.
Could you just explain a little bit what that would be?
Yeah. So because these are managed routers, the users all have their own interface. And so that's what part of the monthly charge goes to, is to maintain that software so the users can manage their own. But at a higher level, it's also for the provider to have visibility into all the routers and help them. So we can't have that instance. Think of it as a website that the support providers go to see into everybody's routers and to offer the support. We can't have that melded with Shelds, because then they could see all our customers and we could see all of theirs, and they don't want that to be true. And then also for portability, if we decided to leave Sheld and go to another provider, we need to own these outright. And this is something that Wired West has run into, where because Westfield, kind of owns all of the tech support around their routers. They can't leave ever without spending like $1 million to leave or to, to update everyone and change their technology. So we don't want to get in that position. We want to make sure everything is clean and separate. And I don't know how much that's going to cost.
Hmm.
It depending on how much it is, this could just be a no-go of like it's the cost is just going to be too much.
Okay.
That would seem to be a software process that runs, if you're paying license fees already, that I don't know, it doesn't seem like that should be an expensive computing process to run in some machine somewhere. So I don't think they're gonna make that a huge overhead. That's my guess.
You've got a follow-up question into Calix about that. Is that
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm waiting to hear back from
Okay,
Kalex
so,
of like,
yeah.
what's the all-in cost on this?
Yeah.
How about setting up our own cloud instance like Shell, kind of needs and wants us to do, if we go ahead with this.
Okay, well,
Um,
so we'll just stay tuned and see what
yeah, yeah.
Good.
It will be kind of like a very large project to update. Think of what installing everybody was. This is less, right? We're not running lines and things, but it is going to be a home visit to every single customer, scheduling every single customer, helping with the setup. So, it will be it's going to be a really significant project, if we go ahead with these router upgrades.
Sounds
So
like a headache for the manager.
what's that?
Sounds like a headache for someone like you.
Yes. Yes, it's gonna be a big
You're
job.
gonna get cranky phone calls saying, "I don't want this thing.
Yeah.
Is it gonna radiate me?"
Yeah, and I do think that because this upgrade is going to come with a cost to the user, it's not just free, right? Even if we buy everything, their costs are going to go up unless we can, figure out some way to work it into our budget.
Which is still going to cost the
Which-
user, because where's our
yeah,
budget?
it's all going to come out in the wash. So I don't think there's any world in which I want this to be a forced upgrade. So, yeah.
Which means we could offer it as who wants it, and put a nominal price on it, each person, and waive it if people have an affordability issue. But our routers, they're all of an age where their Wi-Fi's 5, they're Linksys, and they're not supported. Those people some people have already upgraded their routers, obviously, but most people haven't, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
So
this,
anyway, discussions to come. I do wonder if we should, and we don't have to decide this now, but soon decide if we should include in our town vote to use the depreciation fund. According to Steve, it's going to require 2/3 vote at town meeting, a separate warrant article to say, yes, we want to use this. So we should just keep that in mind. If you all could just help me remember that for town meeting, if I forget that we want a separate warrant article there to use these depreciation funds so that it's there if we move forward. I don't think we don't have to, but so that we've gotten the blessing from the townspeople to go ahead with this. Because we definitely don't want a special town meeting to be our barrier to using this money.
Yep.
Probably every warrant item that we put up for budget gets 95%. So we might actually just always have 66%, no matter what our warrant item is. But
Yeah.
so you would just put up a warrant or want to put up a warrant article for the existing balance that's in the account? Okay.
Right.
That's kind of unusual. Usually, finance committee approves various specific amounts that are going to be used for very specific purposes. That's usually the trend. This seems to be unusual, but sort of necessary because we need to have this money free to be able to use when we decide to go ahead and use it. So it's a little bit different than the usual way that
Yeah, and because it's it's going to be individual choice. We have no
mhm,
idea how many people are going to sign up, right? It's
yeah.
not like we can go to 5 different building firms and get estimates and have a good idea. We have no idea. I mean, I suppose we
Mhm.
could do like townwide surveys, like if we offered this, how many people would do an upgrade? But even that is going to be pretty unreliable in getting
Wasn't
a true estimate of.
wasn't that really in our last, I mean, not exactly, but to some degree in our recent survey? Is it, would you like this? Yes. Do you want to pay for it? No.
Yeah, it was kind of more of an indirect question of how should our digital equity money be used?
Hmm.
And something like 40 something percent of the people said, yes, please, townwide router upgrades.
We will know how much money we want to spend on a router upgrade because we will know there's an amount that we can't go above if we got that approved and we don't spend it all, or if we spend it proportional to, prorated on what the response is. So even without knowing how many people want to take up something, we would know the amount of money that we can't exceed, and therefore that would be one way of voting it.
Yeah.
And this would be for the newer Calyx router, not the ones that are sitting in across the room from me here. Um, the newer versions, don't they have a newer router that's coming out that is more recent than the GigaSpire 6s? This is what we have now.
As far as I know, there's still all the U6s.
Mhm.
They have a new ONT coming out.
Oh.
The 803Gs that we use have been discontinued. Sheld has plenty in stock to get us through, and
Mhm.
Lee Masters, their head tech there, is gonna just run tests on the new model to make sure it's good. And they've already said that it's just an ONT, it's fully compatible with our routers. No anticipated problems there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
GigaSpire does seem to have a Wi-Fi 6E, like E for enhanced, and it doesn't seem to be anything that, I mean, in looking at what it will do, the Wi-Fi 6 for most people is sufficient. It allows you to do more channels, and it's great if you're in an apartment complex and you've got a lot of interference stuff or potential interference. But the GigaSpire 6E doesn't seem to be something that most people here would need or want. And then there's a GigaSpire 7
That's more
that
for commercial use. Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Wi-Fi 6 version seems to be, um, you know, uh, it, the 6E and the 7 possibly also would require you to definitely do mesh even in your 6,000 square foot house, because they're working more in the higher frequency channels and it doesn't penetrate as far. And so yeah, I think that Wi-Fi 6, the U6 is looking like what we would want for the next, 5 or 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I just read my notes on these. Those new ONTs look like they're capable of a 2.5 gig internet port. Ours top
Mhm.
out right now at a 1x1 symmetrical. So
Yep.
as people want faster and faster connections, that's what they're moving towards.
Yeah. So it'd be yeah, we'd upgrade their drop and they'd pay
Yeah,
for it if they wanted it. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
So that's the ONTs have the 2.5 gig. What, and on the other end at the hut, what are we?
we're only pushing one right now.
And does the equipment we have capable of going higher than that? Or
They
do we-
probably have a new OLT out a card that they would plug in their E7. It must be in there. It must be in the motherboards that we have that they do. And so it'd be sets of 16, assuming that they split out like we're currently doing.
But that would have, the OLTs would have to be upgraded with new cards also. Is that
You'd have to
overall?
put in at least one to drive the first person, the first account that wanted to upgrade to a 2.5, I think.
No.
Okay.
So I'm not sure anybody in town needs 2.5. I consider myself a technology wonk,
Mhm.
and a gigahertz is still ridiculously fast.
Yeah, I pointed it out and they said they're people who are hungry for more in South Hadley.
The
Yeah,
gamers.
I'm like I'm like, are they really, or do they just want to
I
say
don't
they have
even.
it? I don't know.
I think it's a luxury
Marketing.
thing. Yeah, I get to say I have 2 gigahertz internet.
Hey, we all buy cars that'll drive 150 miles an hour, but you can't find a road to do it on. So
Yeah.
My inclination, if we want to do anything like this, is and it's a pain, but we offer a premium service, and it's $10 a month more, and you get to have 2.5 gigahertz, and
totally.
they can subsidize other people who are happy with 1 gigahertz.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we want to go there or not. Our premise before has always been everybody's the same.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do, I have a little bit of squirreliness about even offering managed routers because it's an extra pay. It's something that is not, it would make things uneven and unequal of, yeah, you get these managed routers, but if you want it, you have to pay for it.
So it's
Well, it's already unequal because none of us here need a managed router because we can work out all the things that a managed router would tell anyone. And even I can look at the managed router that I have on my phone and I don't need to ask them to tell me what it means, but it's Shelled, I mean, or Netegrity. But there are a lot of people who don't know, who really, that they're paying $60. If you're buying just internet, you're paying $60 and you just get an ONT guaranteed. And if you pay $2.50 more, then you get a service on the thing that does even more complicated stuff that a lot of people don't know what it all means. So, it goes from $60 to 62.5 $62.5. You get so much, you've gone so far towards the 62. I don't know. Anyway, I'll continue to give up on that if I have to, but
No, you won't.
no, but I won't. I know because that just is just seems
Yeah,
crazy.
but I mean, what Gail is saying is valid also, that it's kind of reducing our equity, saying, well, some people, the people who can afford this, granted, it's not very much, but people who can afford this get a better service. So everybody's not equal at that point.
And we're not all equal anyhow because we all have different abilities to understand. I mean, I meet so many people who, because I help with village neighbor stuff, and people just they're scratching their heads. Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why some of the things that we're trying to do with the digital equity and the navigator help and in-home help is really the best way to make sure people are getting what they need in terms of end user service, because no matter what kind of routers we get, people will still have trouble connecting their smart TV. This is not gonna it's not gonna solve all these issues. They're gonna have trouble connecting their printers, and that really, really good in-home help can kind of like ubiquitously solve whatever the problems are. So anyway, we'll keep working on this.
yeah, be nice to have that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and depending on what we find with the digital navigator, and costs and everything. I would love to make it available to everybody, not just seniors. Because I still see it's a need out there of people needing more help than what our regular technicians can offer.
Yeah, because there are seniors out there who can figure this out. I don't know who they might be. But and there are plenty of people who are not seniors that are having difficulty figuring out technology. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. Last thing on my agenda is talking about budget, or not budget, contract, our contract. So I met with Sean Fitzgerald and Mike Conchieri, their financial guy, last week. It was just an informal Zoom talk to see their interest in renewing our contract, which is not actually a contract. It's an intergovernmental agreement. So that is a good thing because we're not beholden to going out to bid. And the renewal is a little bit more lax, but I've had a couple of talks with Donna about how to go about renewing an IGA, and she says you should still adhere to 40B in terms of making sure that you're not getting into a contract that has too much increases in it. So, that means like under 25%, and that the terms are still really favorable. And if you're in question at all, you should go ask around, because that's what our job is, right? Is to get the best deal for our residents. So what's going to happen next is Sean and Mike are going to send new terms to us for the contract by January 8th. I will send them around in advance of our meeting, which is going to be January 15th, so that you can all kind of sit with it, come with questions. They're not going to be at that meeting, but we will start our meeting per usual. We'll do all the open business, and then we'll go into an executive session over Zoom on that January 15th meeting, so we can talk openly about the terms of their proposal. They've already warned me that they will be making an increase for labor and the overall monthly customer charges. They're highly motivated to keep us as customers, just like I want to keep them as our provider. I think they've done a really, really good job. They're going to come back with a 3 and 5 year proposals. According to Donna, we can enter into a 5-year contract without going to, a 5-year IGA without going into a town vote. If it was a contract, it would have to be put to the townspeople. Mike, the financial guy, wanted to put in a CPI, a consumer price increase, or what is it? Consumer price index? I don't know, whatever it is, but the escalator as costs rise. I'm not wild about that. If it's a necessity for them, we need to have a cap on it, I think, just so that to protect us too.
yeah, we definitely need to read that carefully when they
Yeah.
actually get us something in print.
Yeah, they're very conscious right now of what's going to happen with the economy over the next 2 years, and it's a tough time to be going into a contract talk right now due to the uncertainty. So they need to protect themselves. We need to protect ourselves from the unknown and price increases. So yeah, we, depending on how much their increases are, we do have a little bit of wiggle room in our MLP budget. We will of course try to keep the rates the same. But even if we have to raise them by a couple of dollars, I think that our residents will understand the costs of everything are simply going up. So, yeah, so more to come on that. And any questions on that process? All right. Let's see, last thing is Graham asked about the U6 routers that some of you have. And the cost of that is $146.30, but we never actually paid for those because they were demo models that were given by Sheldon Calix. And we're also not being charged the monthly monitoring fee for that. That we're just riding on their customer base for those. So Graham, I understand the desire to avoid favorable treatment and stay under the ethics rules of a $50 charge. And also, I don't know who to pay for this because we haven't been charged. You know what I mean?
Or what the pay would be, right? What the compensation would be.
Right. I think that the toughest thing would be handling that monthly charge because,
Well, that's below the ethics
yeah,
thing, I
yeah.
think. So I could
So,
get that in a year and not
that
have
comes
to.
out to $30 a year, so we can maybe just set that
Yeah.
aside and be like,
That's a scrub.
yeah. So there's a couple of different ways we can handle this. Um, you again, there's no one to pay for this because we didn't pay for them initially. It could be done in terms of just a donation to our Friends of Broadband account. We also have that unrestricted non-taxpayer account that we use to get our fancy gear, where we could use that to buy board member routers. So we could consider that.
Hmm.
So,
I am open to suggestions. Oh, and one more complication is we have one townsperson. I don't think we should say that person's name on the call, but who has one of these routers, right? We put one
Right.
out into the
Yeah.
community at large
There is one.
as a test. So like what do we do with that? And
That person was
again,
always
open,
aware that they would have to pay for it at some point too. So,
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I'm open to thoughts on this.
well, I would yeah, like I say, I would be happy to clear my my sense of I've got something that no one else hardly anyone else in town got, as a or whether or not it was charged to broadband. Yeah, I would give $146.30 to the general fund. I guess I would figure to yeah, you could bill me. I mean the MLP could bill me.
Yes, I could send you an invoice. I could send it for $100, right?
At this
Because
point, it's a used router. So,
that's a huge
but
crowd.
the
it's a
gen,
very used router.
Oh yeah,
but at
give it to me for
but for
half
the
price.
general fund, you're talking about the one that had the money that Asha got, right?
Correct. And
So someone is going to say you're funneling money into a non-town coffers, and that's not appropriate, right?
yeah.
Because eventually we could use that to take ourselves to New Orleans or something. Because
Yeah,
that
it's
well,
true.
I'll buy it for half price. Whichever account it should go into, that'll be.
I think
You
you're
can
creating more trouble
Yeah.
for Gail than
Yeah.
really.
well. I know. This is something you might want to get some legal opinion on exactly how
Oh
this
yeah,
should be
no, no,
done.
And
yeah,
I would
no.
just return mine and plug my Linksys back in.
Ah,
Uh,
ah,
And I would be hard pressed. I don't know what I would do. The Linksys was fine. I like having the. Actually, I don't use it very often, but the
Yeah,
ability to look at things a little better.
yeah.
But
Here's
it's not a huge thing for me.
yeah. Here's what I would like to propose. I think that over the next year, we are going to move to some form of managed routers by choice townwide. We have, or and if that doesn't happen, some kind of other router upgrade. So the whole town is gonna come along with this shortly, I'm gonna say in the next 6 to 9 months. And if it doesn't, and we decide not to go forward with managed routers, I say we revisit this, but I think we're headed there anyway. So it's just a kind of like a matter of time before everybody gets what you all have been, or some of you have been testing out already. And do you think that would,
That
Graham,
would
how do you
work for
feel
me.
about that? Would that be acceptable?
That would, yeah, that would suggest that I'm not getting something that everybody else is. Yeah, yeah. So, okay, yeah. So I'll table my my concern for a year.
Yeah, yeah. And again, if we don't move towards that, I think it's a fine idea to make this even somehow. And uh another way we could do this is having Sheld charge your individual bill more for it, right? Because they have a little bit of a different model where they charge their customers a rental fee for equipment.
No.
So that's another avenue we could pursue. But let's see what happens over the next 6 months. If it doesn't happen, we will look at these other options and even it all out.
Okay, thank you. I'll
Sure.
give it 6 months. Yeah.
All right, that is it on my list. Does anybody have anything else? All right.
And you said the next meeting date is the 15th
I
of
believe it's
January?
the 15th. Yep,
Okay, because the first is on a Wednesday. Okay.
yep.
Oh, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Excellent. All right, well, I hope you all have very happy holidays and New Year, and I will talk to you in January.
Okay.
Very good. Okay.
All right,
Have a
take
good
care,
one.
everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.